The cost of energy is expected to continue soaring with the Russian invasion. And now one group who represents millions of small businesses across the country has a message to President Biden when it comes to how all that will impact all of us here at home. The Job Creators Network placed this billboard in Times Square, arguing the solution is not that complex, demanding President Joe Biden say Nyet to Russian oil and drill more here in the U.S. Alfredo Ortiz is the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network. He does join us right now. Alfredo, good morning. First, clever billboard. Tell us what led your organization to place this billboard in Times Square.
Yeah, absolutely. Nyet to Russian oil is our message, Jan. Look, our small business owners across the country are getting pummeled with inflation, supply chain issues, labor shortages, but the inflation impact to them has been tremendous. Now with this war in Ukraine and the oil prices where they are right now, I mean, I think we're looking at $140 a barrel. I mean, Jan, this is just absolutely killing our small business owners, not to mention American consumers across the country. And once you have small business owners start worrying about the future and you have Americans worrying about the future, you start pulling back on consumer demand. And with the rising inflation, Jan, and a pullback on consumer demand and spending, we're really concerned this country is going straight into stagflation. And so, our first push is to let's go ahead and open up our domestic production here, and let's reverse course a very, very horrible agenda that President Biden set us on from day one of his administration.
And Secretary of State Antony Blinken had this to say regarding the possibility of banning Russian oil. We know just the talk of it. I mean, this is what makes the markets go crazy. This is why we saw that huge increase of gas prices overnight. Take a listen to what Secretary of State Blinken had to say, and I'll get your reaction on the other side.
I was on the phone yesterday with the president and other members of the cabinet on exactly this subject. And we are now talking to our European partners and allies to look in a coordinated way at the prospect of banning the import of Russian oil while making sure that there is still an appropriate supply of oil on world markets.
Many Americans saying if we were energy independent, we wouldn't have given this a second thought because we wouldn't have to rely on Russia for oil to keep the costs down. Give me your thoughts.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Jan. That's our position as well. I mean, if we had just really kept to where we were in terms of energy independence, I mean, I think just last month it was declared by the Energy Information Administration that we are now a net importer of oil overall. And it's crazy to think, Jan, that just a year ago we had complete energy independence. So, look, it makes it tough because we bring in about 8% roughly of our oil production is Russia oil. But we're talking then about $25 to $30 million per day right now that is basically being shipped to Russia, which is funding the war against Ukraine. I mean, so not only is this bad domestic policy, but absolutely bad foreign policy. Now, of course, the Europeans have got themselves in a little bit of a pinch here, Jan, because with 40% of their imports coming from Russia, I'm not sure they're going to be rushing to our side to also ban imports. We're glad to see that Canada did up north, our neighbors up north. They've already done that. It's time for us to do this, Jan, and time for us to turn to domestic production here.
And you've called on President Biden to reject the left's Green New Deal proposal and increase drilling here in the states. Tell us how different life would be if the U.S. took the steps to become more energy independent like we were just a short 1.5 years ago.
Yeah, well, fortunately, Jan, I don't have to really make people imagine things. So we were just there just over a year ago before the Biden administration took over. Energy independence for us was not only a nice phrase, it was truly great domestic and foreign policy because it gave us an opportunity to really focus on growing this economy, keeping inflation in check, keeping jobs rolling. While now with this Green New Deal agenda, we've now realized that this has only turned out to be a bad deal agenda for the American public. And so that is why we are urging for President Biden to reverse course on his domestic policy and allow for energy production to kick back in high gear in this country, in particular our oil production. So that's why we're saying, drill more, pay less. It's just that easy, Joe.
And I want to get your thoughts on the latest jobs report. 678,000 jobs added during the month of February. That really surprised a lot of economists, what they were originally predicting. What are you hearing from small business owners right now at this moment, especially as they're starting to see gas prices creep up, which we know is going to, in turn, cost more to the consumer?
That's right. That's right. This is the double whammy for small business owners, because not only are they getting it from the left in terms of higher costs in terms of all their inputs. But then they're going to be getting it from the right in terms of lower consumer demand, because there's only a certain point that people are willing to spend money, because if they're not feeling great about their future, and when you look at the numbers right now, about 70% of this country believe that our country is on the wrong track. Those are not good numbers for Joe Biden. Those are not good numbers for our economy, because that's when people start pulling back. And we still got to remember, Jan, we are still a 70% consumer-driven economy. And so when that consumer pulls back on their dollar spending, you start having reduction in growth. I wouldn't be surprised if our next GDP number for the next quarter is actually almost at 0%. I think we're going to start seeing us starting to go into the negative after that.
All right, Alfredo, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Have a great week.
Thank you, Jen.